Hi everybody, I'm back. I want to give you the second part of this demo where they show you how to do the clipping mask. But before I do that, I thought of one more thing that I want to show you that I don't think I made clear enough in the first video, and that is that when I told you that when you're making a path, like say you wanted to make a line like this, or maybe you just want to make a zigzaggy straight line like this, you want to make sure that you tell it no fill, okay? You want to make sure that you tell it to have that little red slash across it, because if you don't, it's going to assume that you're trying to make a closed shape like the triangle here, and things will like look all wonky. And I mean, it's not a big problem if they do, other than oh my God, it looks weird. What's going on? Oh, this is horrible. You know, what happened? I just wanted a zigzaggy black line. Um, and it's no problem to come back along, select it with your black arrow and, correct it. Oh, let me make my stroke a little wider on that too. Oh, whew, got out of that one. But I just don't. I know that the first couple of times I tried to use this tool, um, I didn't really quite understand that concept yet, and it just really freaked me out and made me frustrated and thinking I didn't like the program and all this good stuff. So I think one of the things to think about, when you're using Illustrator is there's a reason it does everything. If it's doing something wrong, it's because you're doing something wrong, and it thinks that what you're doing wrong is intentional. Okay, so it's a smart program, but it can't read your mind. Okay, so if that happens, just start over or get out of your pen tool, go to your select it with your black arrow and tell it no fill. Okay, but that I want to just move on to the next part of the tutorial, because this one I really did think that there was a couple of things that were a little unclear. Okay, now they're starting. I want you to hand this in. So I'm going to go ahead and have you not throw this layer away. Just lock it and make it invisible, and make the template there invisible. That way I can just see them when I collect your files from you somehow, some way on on Dropbox or something. Still have not figured it out. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to stay a week ahead of you guys. It's hard to do. Okay, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna create another layer, and we're gonna call it, whoops, layer 6. Okay, and yeah, our layer 6 is going to come in fuchsia. I think we'll be able to see that okay. If we can't see the anchor points and the path lines very clearly, then we'll have to change it to a darker color. But I personally don't even understand why they have yellow as an option in there, because it's like you can't see it up against the white background. I guess maybe they have it like if you're working on a dark background. Yeah, that's probably why. But you sure don't want it for something like this. Okay, so let's get back to the book. A clipping mask is a way that you can take part of a picture and block it out so that it doesn't show, without actually cutting the picture apart. So like if let's say, just imagine this for a minute, like they've got the picture of the hand up against the wall. Okay, so like say that was a picture of a hand up against a wall that was on paper, and you had it in front of you, and you didn't want to see the wall. You only wanted to see the hand, but you didn't want to cut the hand out because you might want the whole print again for some reason. So you want to make like some kind of mask, something that you can put over it to make the wall go away. but not the hand. And so I'm thinking, well, I'd probably take another piece of paper and I would cut that piece of paper to the exact contours of the hand and place it next to the hand, and it would block out the wall. It would kind of mask it out. Okay, well, we're going to do that electronically. So that's basically what a mask is. A mask, we call this lossless editing, because a mask allows us to seemingly get rid of something, but not really get rid of it. Sorry, I was trying to get my layers palette back. Okay. Let me go back over here. Okay, so anyway, what do they want us to do? Just create a new layer. Yours is going to be called layer 6, so don't pay attention to what they're saying. Make everything invisible. Okay. And then, yeah, this is another thing I wanted to point out that's important. They want you, even though there's already a copy of the hand in here, they want you to place it in there yourself. And I want to make sure you understand why, because I think that this is something that, I've already run into problems with this with some of my face-to-face class students, not understanding how this worked, and then, wondering why they come to class the next day and they're just like, the picture's gone. What's going on? And it's the difference between pasting and placing. So if I go back to the folder that they gave us, and remember I told you there's 2 files here, this Illustrator file and this hand file that's a Photoshop file. And we're not going to permanently cut out this hand and put it in Illustrator. We're just going to kind of refer to it. It's not going to actually be embedded in the Illustrator document, but it is going to be like a link that knows, oh, I got to go looking for this picture somewhere. And so if I were to take this file and leave this one behind, or put that one in the trash or something, my picture would go away, and I'd be freaking out. So when you're doing a place, it's kind of like you're just making reference to it, but it's dependent on having that file in another folder. So anyways, not that big a deal until something happens and you freak out. So it's file and place, and then you go searching for, I think I had that on my desktop, you go searching for the file that you want, and you get this little clicky thingy here, and there it is. So it's in there. You can see it, you can work with it, you can do whatever you want with it. But if you give it to somebody, like say you transfer it over to somebody to work on with their computer or something, make sure that they have that picture, that Photoshop picture, in a folder. Okay, so that's what they asked you to do right here. Now another thing you could do, and let me just show you something that if you don't want to worry about it, and this is what I usually do, because I don't like to take any chances that my file and this other file that it's dependent on might get separated. So I actually, instead of placing the object in there, I paste the object in there, and it's a couple extra steps, but I don't mind doing it because but this is just personal preference. You do not have to do this, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. I can open that file in Illustrator. Okay, there it is. And all I want to do is copy it to my clipboard, just like when you're copying anything else. You're copying something from one Word document to the other, or whatever. It goes on a little imaginary clipboard in outer space somewhere or something. and then you can grab it and paste it where you need it. Okay, so I'm selecting it first of all. I have to select it always because it doesn't know what I'm talking about. If I try to tell it, hey, do this, it's like, do what? You know, it's like it has to know that that you're meaning this, even though this is the only thing in the file. Okay, and you can probably, what you need to do is memorize the copy and paste shortcuts, because you'll be using them a lot. They're the same shortcuts that you use in any other program I can think of. It's Command C on a Mac. On a Mac is Command C. On a PC, I don't know what it is, but it's something. And then, you know, Command V or whatever on PC. Okay, so copy. So this is now copied to my clipboard, and I don't need this anymore. So I'm just going to close it and make it go away, because I don't really want to have any extra files open if I don't need them. Okay, and this time, instead of going File, Place like I did last time, I'm going to go Edit, Paste. You know, so I'm actually modifying this file by pasting this in. Okay, but you know, that said, it's there, so I don't have to worry. I keep putting my layers palette away. There we go. You know, so I don't ever have to worry about making sure that this is, you know, in another folder. Probably one of the reasons that you might want to place something is because a lot of times these pictures can get really, really big. So that's probably why. And when they get really, really big, I mean like many megabytes. And you know, one of the things that's really nice about Illustrator files being vector as opposed to being bitmap is that these files, you can be as complex as you want, and they really never get very big at all, because vector doesn't require as much space memory as pixel does. Okay, but anyway, okay, so there it is. I've pasted it, and you can see that it's pasted it onto layer 6. Okay, so we're in good shape there. So, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other is kind of how I see that. There we go. I keep losing my place. Okay, let's see. What else do they want us to do? Okay, and they want us to turn this into a template. And I found that I did not have any problems making a template that was partially transparent with this bitmap image. I wonder if it's going to give me grief because I pasted it instead of placed it. I hope not. Okay, anyway, double click here. Tell it I want it to be a template, and I'm actually going to take it down to 30% because that's what I prefer. There we go. Okay, so it worked. Okay, so when I make it a template, it fades out my image, so that I'm basically, all I'm doing is tracing. I just need to cut a hole in the shape of this hand, or whatever. And you're welcome to use something else, but I'd really prefer you just keep it simple and move on to the actual project. Okay, but so make that kind of simple there. And then it locks the layer, and it makes it so that you can't do anything on it. Okay, so you're not at risk of messing it up. And what I just explained to you is spelled out here. And so maybe between, you know, my more casual way of explaining it and their way of just kind of getting to the point, that can help you understand the difference between pasting and placing. Okay. Let's see. And okay, so they're gonna make a new layer. It's gonna be called layer 4. We're gonna make a new layer, and it will be called layer 7. And let's go ahead and choose a slightly darker color for our little outline. How about okay, we can just purple again. Yeah. Okay. Purple. There, I like that. Okay. Okay, so what it wants you to do then is it wants you to trace the hand with your pen tool. And this, it's kind of, well, it's actually one of my favorite things to do. But I think a lot of my students think I'm crazy when I tell them that. Um, but it's, I don't know. I don't know why I enjoy it. I guess it's just kind of, I think it's fun to trace things with my pen tool. I always have. I think it's very relaxing. And my students really think I'm crazy when I say that because they're getting all stressed out, like, oh, this is so hard. Okay, so if you mess up, just take your time, start over, delete it, and start. It's like if you really mess up, there comes a point when is it easier to just throw this layer away and start fresh, as opposed to trying to fix or undo the problem I created. It's kind of like picking your battles. Okay, so I'm just going to click, and I've got a little curve here. You do not have to be very precise, because you can remember these things are infinitely editable. But one thing I will tell you is keep the number of anchor points to a minimum. Okay, and what I mean by that is this. Let me just delete what I have and show you what I don't want you to do. I'll have students come in and they're like, I want to get it perfect, so I'm just going to make an anchor point every 2 or 3 pixels, and then it's going to be perfect. No, you do not want that. Okay, that's bad, because every time you make an anchor point, it can make that line bend. Even if you can't see it from where you're standing, it still bends, okay? And we want smooth, perfect transitions. So anytime you're working with the pen tool, go as slow as you possibly can, okay? I mean, as minimal. Click. See, I'm looking for this graceful curve here, and I'm going to go ahead and just click to the point where it kind of comes up again. And I know I can go back and fix it later, so, But, this is, and if yours doesn't come as easily for you as it did for me on the first try, you're probably not alone. Okay, this does take a little practice, and some people love using it, and other people just hate it. Okay, here's what I like to do when I have like a curve. Like, don't go click around the tip of the finger. Okay, just go ahead and click to the other side of the arc. I've got like a little arc right here. Just click and drag, and you can get that shape how you want it. Now I'll come back later and make it a little more perfect. Okay, remember now I've got a little point here, so I have to use my pen tool to get that little angle next to it that says it's going to turn a curve into a corner. Okay, and then I can do the same thing with this finger, just like what we were kind of doing with, with our little drawing that we did in the earlier part of this activity. Okay, here's another place where I see a turn coming in. So, and pay attention to these corners, you guys. When you're doing something like this in Illustrator or Photoshop, having sloppy edges is kind of like a dead giveaway. It's like you want your edges to be clean, and therefore when you see corners, you want to go into those corners. When you don't want to just kind of like say, oh, it's okay that I skipped over this very little part of the knuckle right here, and don't skip your corners. It's so easy to change directions. Just click when you've got the little arrow thingy next to it. Click and drag, click the anchor point, click and drag, click the anchor point again, click and drag the other way, and click and drag the other way down here, knowing I can fix it later. Okay, now again, I need this to be closed. I need this to be perfectly closed, and if I don't come back and touch the point where I started, it's not going to work. Okay, so you've got to be, it's super sensitive, you guys, so you've got to be really kind of slow about it. And sometimes it's frustrating because it's like, sometimes you have trouble catching it. And, maybe just zoom in a little bit and then you won't have that problem. If this is hard for you, here's your zoom tool over here. In case I haven't shown you that, I'll go ahead and pull it up now. Okay, go back into my pen tool. And what did I do? Okay, I want to do that one more time because I'm not really sure what I did. Okay, just to be sure. Okay, click. Okay, I've got a solid shape now, and you can see how that corner turned black on. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to make these a little bit more perfect. Whoops. One of the first things that I want to do is I want to be able to see the whole thing. It's with it in front of me, and that's what your hand tool over here is for. You use that to grab anything, but the thing that's cool, and this is another one of those shortcuts that'll save you hundreds and hundreds of hours over your lifetime, shortcut is the space bar. You're on any tool, when you're holding down the space bar, it turns into the hand so that you can because you've always got to be repositioning this so that you're comfortable with it. And you need to zoom in. If you're going to get super precise on these things, you need to zoom in. And for the sake of time, I'm going to show you. I'm going to fix a couple things, but I'm not going to truly try to make it perfect. But this is when I would come in with my white arrow, and I would start. Whoops. And see, if you don't touch that little handlebar exactly where it's supposed to be, it won't work. Okay, but by changing the length and the angle of these handles, I can make it just about perfect. If I need to add or take away an anchor point, I can do that as well. Let me find a place where I think I might need to add an anchor point. Let's say right here. I can probably get this the way I want it by using the little handles. But sometimes it's okay to just put another anchor point in there, and that gives me a chance to show you a couple of other tools in here. The little plus sign next to the pen is an add anchor point. For it to work, you have to go click and let go. And now you can see that it's given you something you can edit with your white arrow tool. You can either move the center point. Whoa. Let's see. That's what happens if you have it real extreme. If say you've got, and when it starts acting all extreme like this, it's like, maybe I don't want this. Maybe, is this going to be too difficult? Is this making my life easier or harder? If it's making my life easier, I'll stay with it. If it's making my life harder, I think I'm going to get rid of it. And so maybe it wasn't such a good idea to add an anchor point there after all. Maybe I would have been better off just using the handlebars on these two anchor points. Okay, so this is when my delete anchor point tool comes into play. Whoops, and you got to be touching right on it. Yeah, I got to be touching right on it. It's not letting me do it. There we go. I mean, there's like this one little point that you have to be, and it's real picky about it. So, you know, and can you see what happened here? I got this little, let me zoom in on this for you. Okay, this is something we want to avoid. Okay, that's just going to turn into a mess. Okay, you want this to be a nice continuous line going all the way around. So, and sometimes, you know, and that's why I say zoom in, because sometimes you can't see those things, you know, and when I'm zoomed in, maybe this gets a little easier, because at least I can grab the anchor point, and between this handlebar and this one, you know, maybe the place to add an anchor point would have been over here. Oh, you know what I need to do here? Here, I've got a problem here. Look, I need a curve right here, and I have a curve that meets a corner. I don't want a corner there. I want a corner here. You can see why. I do not want a corner here. Here's where you can, if you're not in the act of drawing the line, you're going to have to come over here. Oh, good. They finally have if you've got Creative Cloud, they finally got keyboard shortcuts for these. For the longest time, they didn't have keyboard shortcuts. I don't think they have them on CS6. I'm definitely going to remember these. Plus, minus, and Shift C. Hallelujah. Okay. Anyway, this change anchor point tool, you know, I showed you how to make a curve into a corner. You can also make a corner into a curve by clicking and dragging. Okay, so click and let go turns it into a corner. Click and drag turns it into a curve. And then when you drag, make sure you don't make a swirly loopy thingy, you know, do that. Okay, so I'm not going to do any more to this because I think you get the picture. I want to get back to the rest of the tutorial. But that's really what I'm talking about. And as the semester wears on, that's really, you know, I'm as you get better and better at using these software, my expectations of neatness are going to go up and up and up, you know, so I'd like you to try to do the best you can on this one, but, you know, don't kill yourself doing it either, because you know, it's just an exercise. Do it until you're comfortable. That's probably what I would say. Okay, so here's the next thing that they're telling us to do. We want to transform this into a clipping path, into a clipping mask. And what I have to do is select both the path and the image. Okay, so what I have to do, and this is part I thought was a little bit confusing, unlock the template layer, okay? And then I've got to have my selection tool. Let me get my toolbar over here. Okay. And I click on the path first. Whoops. And well, I was supposed to click on the path first, but okay. You need to hold your shift key. Click on one or the other first and hold your shift key. And then you're going to see that the picture on the template layer is all outlined in pink. And then we've got this dark purple line on layer 7, which is where our path is. Okay, so they have to both be activated in order for this to work. Okay, and then you go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Okay, and now I have a mask, and you can see the background is gone. The background, it's still there. You just can't see it right now. Okay, and so that would have been like the equivalent of, you know, like I said, cutting something out in a stencil. You know, like say I had a piece of white paper and I cut out a hand-shaped window from that piece of white paper and placed it over that hand so that all I could see was the hand and nothing else. Okay, so that's what, let me see if there was anything else. Read all these blue boxes, they're important. I'm just, okay, I'll let you guys read that. be sure to click on the path, then shift click on the photographic image to place out flip path. Okay, I think that's all they had for us in this one, right? Let me see if there's anything more. You know, you modify the clipping path, the same thing I was doing. You can, these are infinitely adjustable. You can always come back and change. And just remember that you need to, I was going to say, I'm getting tired, you guys. Remember that you, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and end here. I think I've been doing this for like way too many hours today. There's a couple more little steps here that I want you to do. I'm going to go ahead and sign off since I'm starting to mess up. But don't skip this, okay? Don't skip it, because it talks about making things into a group. It helps you understand your layers a little bit better, okay? So here's what you've got. Be perfect as possible when you do stuff, and have fun with the assignment.